This video is sponsored by Bright Cellars. Legacy. What is a legacy? For Lin-Manuel Miranda, it boils down to one word.
Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Hamilton, the hottest show on Broadway.
$445 to $1,500 a ticket.
You've met everybody. You've met every single celebrity.
Within weeks of opening in 2016, the rap musical about the $10 founding father exploded out of the Broadway bubble and broke into the mainstream conversation. But before there was Lin-Manuel Miranda, the superstar, there was Lin-Manuel Miranda, the recent college graduate. Every artist cuts their teeth somewhere, and for countless up-and-comers in New York City, that place was the Drama Bookshop. A rare breed of bookstore that specialized exclusively in all things performance, the Drama Bookshop came with its own legacy as a crucial New York resource. A secret hideout for theater lovers to lose themselves in rows of sheet music and plays. In 2018, the 100-year oasis faced extinction when an unpayable rent hike threatened to shutter the shop for good. This is a story about the spaces we inhabit, how they define who we are, the role they play in making life-changing connections, and of how they led to the biggest musical in Broadway history, fighting to stop an artistic legacy from turning into a memory. And action. The French wine. There's a California wine called Chenin Blanc, inspired by that same French excellence. Wine is kind of a snobby racket. When I get home, I just want to curl up on the couch and read a play with a wine that doesn't taste horrible, but I never know where to start when it comes to picking one. So thank goodness for Bright Cellars. Bright Cellars is on a mission to combat the snobbery of the wine industry. Choose from 12 different plan options and get 100 plus varietals sourced from 80 wine regions delivered right to your doorstep. Just take a quick quiz and get matched up with luxury wines from all over the world. You also get tasting notes and suggested food pairings. If you don't like a bottle, they'll replace it. For a limited time, you can get $100 off your subscription and a free wine tote. Click the link in the description to take the quiz and learn why they have over 600,000 5-star reviews. For every final chapter, there's also a chapter 1. The Drama Bookshop story started with a bookshelf. 100 years ago, theater was held in a much different light than the billion-dollar industry it is today. For a time, watching a play was believed to be as vulgar as making animals fight. This stigma started to gradually change once the 1900s rolled around, resulting in the countless retellings of Shakespeare getting replaced by new American playwrights. A woman named Edith Isaacs saw this influx in new work and took to the New York Times to declare 1917 the American Drama Year, and ordered with it the building of the Drama League Bookshop of Plays. Isaacs was the chairperson of the Drama League, a club that basically distinguished which plays were acceptable for people to see. Up until then, a bookcase in the league lobby housed scripts of these new American plays for members to read. A selection so sparse, it only took up a single shelf. Part of the reason Isaacs announced a designated shop just for plays was to expose people to these new works and encourage the printing of more. As Isaacs put it, we must buy good plays when they are printed so that it may pay to print good plays. The shop popped up just prior to the sprouting of the New York theater scene, an eruption that led to an increased demand for all things performing arts. Come the 1930s, the store once dedicated solely to plays expanded its inventory into books on opera, vaudeville, and, most thrilling for modern consumers, books about the radio. The curiosity for the stage flourished. The Drama Bookshop changed locations and owners multiple times, ultimately landing in the second floor of a rundown building on 7th Avenue, under the care of Arthur Seale and his wife Roseanne.
It was very small on the second floor with the elevator that would break down every once in a while. My name is Freddie. I worked at the Drama Bookshop for 19 years, one of the longest working staff at the Drama Bookshop. So it was kind of like a secret hideout. Only people who were really dedicated to the theater knew where it was. It felt like the dive bar of bookstores. That's what it felt like.
The Drama Bookshop's storied history of jumping from building to building to escape ever-growing rent prices continued in November of 2001, when it moved to 40th Street and 7th Avenue.
It was an oasis. It felt like home. My name is Kaylin. I worked at the Drama Bookshop for 3 years, and it's my favorite place in the world. The moment I walked in, it was so welcoming and warm. And I was like, I want to work here, right? So I think I, on a whim, put in an application, didn't hear from them for months. So I assumed, okay, didn't get a job, that's totally fine. And then I get a call from Rick, and he said, you got the job in May 2015.
The new space was double the size, better lit, and included an upstairs balcony, a downstairs basement, and eventually, a new cat named Humphrey.
We didn't have any mice in the store, I gotta tell you that. As fat and lazy as that cat was, he kept the mice away. As the years went on, he got older and fat. Roseanne, the owner, she's like, I'm gonna take the cat home with me. And then Marcus got hired to work to manage the shop. He brought Chester one day. Everyone fell in love with Chester, so he kept bringing them in.
Chester's so fabulous. He just be trotting all over the shop. Oh my goodness.
We went from a lazy fat cat to a lazy dog that would just lay on the counter. And everyone loved it.
He was just so a part of the shop that sometimes you didn't even notice he was there, because he just had his place he would sit, right? And he knew the lay of the land. He knew what to do. He's kind of like an uncle that would just be around at the shop. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Uncle Jeff.
The shop also got a new co-owner in Roseanne's nephew, Alan Hubby. Hubby turned the basement into a black box theater space, just big enough for 60 seats, and named it the Arthur Seelan Theater, in memory of his uncle, who passed away the year prior. Hubby recruited a troupe called Backhouse Productions to work as the resident theater company for the bookshop. And that's how a young director named Thomas Kail came eye to eye with a hurricane. As Kail put it in an interview with the New York Times, I was not born in a trunk, I was born in the basement of the Drama Bookshop. The same could be said of Lin-Manuel Miranda. Born and raised in New York City, Miranda spent most of his high school years riding the rickety elevator up to the old Drama Bookshop. Miranda entered the then-new space on 40th Street in the summer of 2002 and sat across from Thomas Kail to discuss his new musical called In the Heights. The shop became an incubator for both the show and its creators. In front of a piano and surrounded by the privacy of the basement, Backhouse Productions found their voice, occasionally breaking out into freestyle raps about their day. If Miranda ever reached a point in his writing where he got stuck, all he needed to do was go upstairs and read some of the greatest works of all time.
When they were taking their breaks, Lin would come upstairs and we'd have a conversation. We would talk music. I used to make Lin mixtapes at the time.
The buzz around In the Heights grew thanks to a series of basement readings that caught the attention of producer Joe Furman and rent producers Kevin McCollum and Jeffrey Seller. In the Heights eventually opened at the Richard Rodgers Theater in 2008. Seemingly in an instant, Thomas Kail and Lin-Manuel Miranda transcended from the Drama Bookshop basement to the top of the Broadway mountain. The same couldn't be said for the store. February 14th, 2016 went down as the coldest Valentine's Day in New York City history.
Some of the coldest temperatures we've seen in New York City in the last 20 years.
Well, my eyes are already starting to water. My face is stinging.
So if it wasn't Valentine's Day, would you head out in this?
No, too cold. Stay in.
The next morning, manager Sean Verrier walked up to the Drama Bookshop, and saw the windows fogged over. When he walked inside, he found the floor covered in ice and looked up to see water dripping from the ceiling. The landlord's refusal to heat the building on weekends caused a pipe to freeze, burst, and send 20,000 gallons of water crashing down onto the bookshelves below, destroying roughly 20% of the shop's inventory. Lost in the fray were countless signed plays, rare first editions, and books no longer in print. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage for which the landlord refused to pay, claiming it wasn't his fault. Roseanne Seelan thought the flood spelled the end of the shop. But Lin-Manuel Miranda had other ideas. A lot had changed in the 8 years since the early In the Heights readings in the shop's basement. Miranda broke a Tony Award record by becoming the youngest person to win the Best Score Tony in 2008, and effectively flipped the theater world on its head with the 11-time Tony Award-winning rap musical Hamilton in 2015. The revolutionary musical was Broadway's hottest ticket, with prices soaring well into the thousands of dollars. In the spirit of making the absurdly expensive musical more accessible, Hamilton held a daily lottery called Ham for Ham, where people could get front row seats to the show for just $10. Typically reserved for musical performances with celebrities like Alan Menken and Jimmy Fallon, Lin-Manuel Miranda posted a special digital Ham for Ham on February 20th, 2016, asking everyone to support the Drama Bookshop however they could.
You can go to, Freddie, what's the website?
dramabookshop.com.
You don't need to type the www, it's not 1997.
In addition to Miranda, countless other members of the Broadway community banded together in an attempt to save the shop through personal checks and even a benefit concert.
So it went from like devastating thing to like, oh, look at all the outpouring of love that we have from all these people.
The bookshop lived to see another day, and even reported record sales. But the sudden flurry of orders didn't change the fact that the store was struggling before the pipe burst.
I remember finally understanding how fragile of a state we were in financially. In my brain, Drama Bookshop was going to be around forever. There was no way that anyone would let this important, iconic bookshop not exist. It just felt impossible in my brain. And I think after the pipe burst and truly understanding where we were, it's when the reality sort of hit that it could happen.
By 2018, online retailers like Amazon increased pressure on the independent bookstore. The main advantage the Drama Bookshop held over competitors was a knowledgeable staff who recommended plays in a way an algorithm never could. An advantage that turned against them when people would get the expert advice just to leave the store and buy the plays online. In a Playbill article, Alan Hubby joked that the only reason they were still open was because the store's 20-year lease hadn't come up for renewal yet. 2 years after that interview, the lease did come up for renewal. In 1969, Roseanne Seelan unexpectedly fell in love with her Drama Bookshop boss, Arthur, and a 6-month job turned into a 31-year marriage. But by 2018, the cost of running the shop got so high that Roseanne Seelan started dipping into her own private savings just to cover rent, the inventory of plays, utilities, and salaries for the 20 staff members. The store barely scraped by, making it even worse when the landlord announced a rent hike of over 50% to $30,000 a month. It became clear that there was no way Roseanne Seelan could afford to keep the Tony Award-winning bookshop going.
The landlord just would not budge. We were going to have to close up shop because finding another location was pretty difficult at that time.
Again, the theater community rallied together to save the store. More GoFundMes, more online support. Lin-Manuel Miranda even signed all the Hamilton-related merchandise in the store, but it still wasn't enough. Later that month, the Drama Bookshop announced they would close the doors on their 101-year legacy. Desperate to keep the shop open, Lin-Manuel Miranda and Thomas Cale even tried negotiating with the landlord to extend the lease for another 6 months. This would buy the bookshop more time to find a new location. The landlord said, "No, it's over."
He wouldn't accept the money because he already shopped the place to new buyers, which pissed me off because as talks were happening, I would see the landlord walk in with people I've never seen before, and they were looking around the shop, and he was taking notes, and he was like, "You can do this here, you can do this here," in our face while we were working. He kicked us while we were down, saying, "Yeah, you guys aren't gonna stay here. I don't care how big a celebrity you get to pay the rent. You're not staying here."
For the first time since 1917, the New York theater community had to consider the possibility of a world without the drama bookshop. A possibility that was incomprehensible for Thomas Cale and Lin-Manuel Miranda. The shop was one of the first places the two felt heard and encouraged. The drama bookshop helped launch their careers. The shop saved them. Now, it was their turn to save the shop. Alan Hubby called the staff of the drama bookshop in for a group meeting. Considering many of them were already looking for new jobs, they assumed what Hubby was about to say. But then, he entered the room with Thomas Cale. Cale and Lin-Manuel Miranda were going to buy the drama bookshop. By 2018, Hamilton had earned a total revenue of $365 million. Roughly $1.5 million a week, according to The Hollywood Reporter. From that, Miranda received a 7% royalty cut, about $105,000 a week. And Cale received a 2% royalty cut, about $30,000 a week. Suffice to say, Hamilton turned the two into bona fide multi-millionaires. But underneath the fame and fortune, they were still the same two kids that once plucked away on the piano in the drama bookshop basement. The two couldn't bear the thought of losing the store because it meant losing the next generation of great artists. Cale explained the plan to save the drama bookshop to the staff. He and Miranda tapped into their high-profile Hamilton connections, first to producer Jeffrey Seller, and then to James L. Nederlander, the owner of 9 Broadway theaters, including the one that housed Hamilton. Considering he was the second largest landlord on Broadway, Nederlander was no stranger to the New York real estate game, and knew how to negotiate a reasonable lease. 50 years after she stepped into the store for the first time, Roseanne Seelan sold the bookshop for the cost of the remaining inventory, some rent support in the final weeks, and a pledge to retain her as a consultant. Seelan went on to say, "I'm 84 years old. I just didn't have the drive to find a new space and make another move. Lin-Manuel and Tommy are my white knights." The plan of finding a new space sounded pretty straightforward on paper. Putting it into practice was another story. Even with the help of the New York City mayor's office, finding real estate near Times Square proved difficult. Miranda and Cale walked through numerous different options, the most promising being a spot right on 42nd Street. But those plans ultimately fell through after complications arose. 6 months after Cale announced the rescue of the drama bookshop, there was still no new location lined up, and the staff went into their final shift on January 20th, 2019.
Hi, you still have time to get some plays. We close on Sunday, January 20th. Come by, get a play, leave a memory.
Many of the shop's devoted faithful wrote memories on slips of paper and taped them to the empty bookshelves, while a packed house in the basement listened to playwrights Annie Baker and Amy Herzog discuss their artistic journeys. As the discussion wound down, Alan Hubby emerged from the shadows one last time and told the crowd, "Thank you very much for attending the last event at the Drama Bookshop.
We'll see you. Wait, it's not goodbye. We'll see you soon. See you soon.
It's over. That was it. That was the last sale.
We worked until that shop closed, thinking we're done here for the time being. We're gonna be back by fall. So that did not happen. Then we were in the dark for a little bit.
I knew that this chapter closing was very sad, and I didn't know what folks at the shop were gonna do in the meantime, who worked there full time, things of that nature. So there was worry there. And I knew that no matter what, there was enough support to make sure that this historic place continued on.
After 10 months of radio silence, the news broke that Lin-Manuel Miranda and Thomas Kail finally found a new home for the Drama Bookshop, one street over from the old spot. The team wasted no time getting to work, enthusiastically creating a reimagined space designed for patrons to sit down and stay a while. The 40th Street location felt like a classic independent bookshop, much like the Strand, with a smell that one Twitter user described as old bookstore meets elementary school with a splash of top ramen. The vibe of the new shop differed from this greatly. Instead of reaching out to traditional interior designers to map out the shop, they decided to go a more theatrical route, with Hamilton set designer David Corrins. In their first meeting, Corrins said it's one thing to save a shop, but we should also find a way to add something spectacular. The answer? A giant bookworm that weaved throughout the entire shop. Thomas Kail didn't want the massive structure to just be a 3,500-pound and 140-foot-long decoration, though. The bookworm is a timeline of theater history, starting with the ancient Greeks and spiraling all the way up to 2020 using 2,400 books. The team really wanted to make a warm, inviting space where people could sit down on one of George Washington's chairs from Hamilton, talk, and, in an exciting development for the new space, drink a coffee.
I used to always why don't we sell coffee? Because I used to always go next door to the bodega to get coffee and sandwiches. And I was like, we sell coffee, we sell coffee. So the fact that they literally have it now, I'm like, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
The move to mimic other bookstores by selling coffee and baked goods helped create additional revenue, but it sadly meant that Chester the dog could no longer come in due to health regulations. Originally expected to open in March of 2020, delays from the COVID-19 shutdowns meant the brand new 3,500-foot space wouldn't officially open until June 10th, 2021. Serendipitously, the same day the film version of In the Heights hit theaters. To compare the new Drama Bookshop to the one on 40th Street is like trying to compare the one on 40th Street to the version on the second floor of 7th Avenue. They're completely different spaces that each catered to different generations. The visual aesthetics of the shops may differ, but the new store still does the same thing the first one did in 1917. It sparks curiosity and love for the theater.
It was definitely very much a community of theater people, from indie to Broadway's. Nothing was kept a secret. You knew everything that we knew. That was the Drama Bookshop legacy, is just building a tight community and showing all aspects love.
So what do I think is the legacy of the Drama Bookshop? That you always have a home in the theater, that you're not alone in this journey, pursuing this challenging, beautiful, chaotic career. It can be hard, but you're never alone. That no matter where you are in your career or your journey, there's a place for you. You are worthy. So get curious and go visit the shop. I feel like that's the legacy.
It's more than just a bookstore. The Drama Bookshop is the 38-year-old actress, desperately trying to memorize 2 monologues for an upcoming callback. It's the 15-year-old high school students wandering in with wide eyes on a class trip. It's the 27-year-old YouTuber, staring at his screen for 30 minutes, wondering how he's ever written anything in his life. Millions of lives have passed through these doors. Millions of journeys, and millions of stories. This is just one of them. A prologue into a new story that will hopefully take 100 more years to write. I definitely spend a little too much time in the drama bookshop. Just last month, I spent a lot of time there uncovering the chaotic twists and turns of a musical based on Titanic. Click on this video to hear that wild story and witness how Titanic the musical nearly sank on Broadway.